Let's, in this chapter, build our first workflow and what it should contain. In this chapter, we're going to build our first movement workflow together. So don't worry about technology yet. Instead, think like a clinician, coach, or a teacher, for instance. Ask yourself one simple question. How does someone move from today's problem, if they have some sort of problem, to tomorrow's improvement? Okay, keep this in your mind. How does someone move from today's problem to tomorrow's improvement? A workflow is simply that journey. By the end of this chapter, you will have a framework you can use for almost any movement platform. Here's a question. Why do so many exercise programs fail, even when the exercises are correct? You can see a lot of them out there on like Instagram and the like, right? Like YouTube. Usually it's not because the exercise is wrong. It's because the process is too complicated. Patient forget, or athlete for instance, they lose motivation, life gets busy, right? But great workflow reduces friction, correct? Instead of asking people to do more, they make the next step easier. Simplicity often beats perfection. Let's make this real. Imagine a patient with knee pain, right? Before choosing exercises, what do? We first understand the person, right? What are their goals? What are their habits? What makes movement difficult? Correct? Then we guide them through a simple cycle. Assess, create, share, perform, and collect feedback and improve. Right? Notice that the workflow here focuses on entire journey, not just the exercise. Exercise is one part of this journey. Yeah? Every good workflow starts with a clear goal. We talked about it. Not like dual squats, but something meaningful, like climbing stairs without pain or returning to sports. Exercises are kind of tools, right? Goals are destinations. Before prescribing anything, ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? That one question makes every decision afterward much easier. So the question is, what problem am I trying to solve? So next, capture movement. It doesn't have to be like a super duper technology here. You can just naked eye, right? It could be a squat, a shoulder raise, or a balance task. This is basically what the doctors or physios or coaches do every day, right? The important part isn't making a perfect observation or even video. It's showing exactly what you want the person to do it. So you can record yourself, for instance. So clear movements demonstrations remove confusion and create consistency. Correct? So one good example is often better than a page of written instructions. That's why you see a lot of videos out there, right? And people watching them. But that's again part of the story. One part of the story, which is quite an important one, right? Now, we turn that movement into a program. So keep this in mind. You have a movement, you demonstrate it. Now the program consists of movement and other details. This is where we add repetitions, sets, holds, times, or other instructions. Think about the patient's cognitive load. This is something that most people may ignore. Can they understand this in a few seconds? The easier it is to follow, the more likely they are set to complete it. Good programs reduce thinking and increase doing. Sharing should be effortless. So if patients need multiple apps, passwords, or complicated instructions, many will give up before they even start. Right? If you're an athlete and patient, you know that, right? That's why one simple, say, link can make such a difference. So you just click it, considering all the security issues, right? The easier you make the first step, the greater the chance they will actually begin the program. Stay with me. So we have a couple of other steps, and this video might be slightly longer than usual, but there are a lot to cover here, right? So a workflow is not complete until information comes back. That's the key things. Feedback. Did the patient do it? Because we rarely know that. Was it painful? Was it easy or difficult? Without feedback, you are guessing. That's why we just keep going to rehab and the like, and there's no feedback, right? Even feedback for the patient, let alone the doctors or physios or the coaches or anyone interested in human movement in general. So with feedback, you can make better decisions. Think of this as closing the communication loop between you and the person you are helping. So once feedback arrives, you improve. Maybe the exercise was too easy, maybe it was too painful, maybe adherence was low. Small adjustments over time often produce much better outcomes than trying to create the perfect program on day one. Improvement is a continuous process, as you know, not a one-time event, correct? So notice something interesting here. None of these steps are complicated on their own, like capturing, building, sharing, complete, review, or improve. They're all like pretty much people doing them, one way or another, or some of them. But all of them make sense, right? That's the complete movement workflow. You don't need artificial intelligence or crazy tech or expensive equipment to get started. First, build a simple workflow. Then improve it over time, right? So, once you understand the workflow, especially through the loop that we've discussed, you can use it almost anywhere, right? So in physiotherapy, you might reduce pain. In sport, you might improve performance. In schools, you might teach movement skills, or movement literacy, they call it, right? The context may change, but the workflow stays the same. That's the power of thinking in system instead of individual exercises. So, everyone talks about AI. So where the AI fits, or any high tech, or those type of technology. So where does this AI fit into all of this? AI should support the workflow, right? Not replace it altogether. It can help analyze movement, organize information, identify patterns, for instance. But people will still define the goals, make clinical decisions, and build trust. First, build that great workflow. Then AI or other tech can make that workflow even better, correct? So well done, congratulations, you now have a complete movement workflow, you understand, hopefully you get an understanding of it, that you can apply in almost any movement settings, right? Remember the sequence, start with the goal, capture movement, build the program, share it, and collect feedback, and keep improving it. In the next chapters, we'll explore how these simple workflows become the foundation for sort of a smarter movement systems and eventually AI-powered solutions. Stay with us.